for melodic heavy metal. Playing it heavier, louder, raunchier, faster. This is the Signals of Intuition.
That's Hardline right there, the lead-off single from their brand new record, Human Nature. That was Where Will We Go From Here. You're listening to the Signals of Intuition, your home for melodic hard rock and heavy metal. Tonight on the show, we've got the singer of that band, Mr. Johnny Gioeli. He's also the singer of Axel Rudi Pell and Crush 40, a band who was featured in the Sonic Adventures video game series. So let's get him on the line right now. Hey, Johnny, how's it going? It's Brandon.
Hey, Brandon, going good, brother. Thank you so much for your patience, man.
Oh, hey, no worries. So it's all cool.
Yeah, thanks, man. And Brandon, where are you? Where are you located? You're in Canada?
Yeah, I'm right next to Detroit. I'm in a little city called Windsor.
Okay, cool. Yeah, are you into hockey up there?
Oh yeah, yep. I grew up playing.
Oh, cool.
Yourself as well. No, are you in LA? Where are you at?
No, I'm on the East Coast. I moved out. I couldn't do LA. I had LA 25 years in my blood, and it was enough. And I came back to my roots here on the East Coast. I'm actually in Connecticut, so I'm between Boston and New York.
Oh, yep. So where are you? Are you close to like Hartford? Where are you in Connecticut?
Actually, pretty close to Hartford. I'm south. I'm on the shoreline, so I'm in Madison, Connecticut. So between New Haven and Old Saybrook. I don't know if you've heard of those cities, but we have all these little shoreline, little beach cities, and you blink your eye and you're through them. And one of them is Madison. And we came here only because the schools are just amazing. And my wife's originally from here when she was a child, and we came back to visit, and she woke up one morning. We were sort of on vacation here, and she goes, "I don't want to go back." I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" So we literally stayed, man. And at the time, it was insane because I had a very, very big business in California. We had stuff. I'll just put it to you that way. We had 4 houses and yachts and planes and helicopters and shit. And I needed to get rid of all that crap to make this happen. And we did. It took a year. We got rid of everything, and here we are on the East Coast. I love it.
Are you now doing your businesses out in the East Coast then? You've just kind of reestablished yourself on the other side of the country?
Well, I'm sort of semi-retired. So I sold the main business that I had with my brother, sold it to him. So did a buyout with him, got rid of that. And I started another company out here. It's an outdoor company, but it's real relaxed, very stress-free. I work from home and, when I want, and we have a lot of land, and so I don't have neighbors anymore. I can't see anybody. We're secluded, and my son's a hockey player, so we're always on ice. Bro.
Oh, cool. What does he play?
So
Who's his team?
He's a junior Wolfpack, so he is a junior New York Ranger. He's a little hot shot at 12 years old. He's like a little Gretzky. So he's on the same league that he continues, he would become a New York Ranger.
Wow.
If he stays.
Okay, so he's got to be a pretty serious player then.
Yeah. We're literally, bro, on the ice 5 nights minimum with skills and training and practice, and then they have off ice. They have personal trainers. It's insane, dude. They go a little. Well, look, you're in Canada.
Yep.
I can't tell you, but it's becoming really freaking serious, and it's his passion. And I think it's a dangerous ass sport, but they all are. But I love it, and he loves it. And what are you going to do? You got to support him. So we're going for it. As long as he shows the interest and the passion for it, then I'll wear my winter coat all the time. Doesn't matter.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I know. I grew up playing hockey. I was much more casual though. I wasn't anywhere near the level he was. But I had friends hit something close to that point, and it's like, yeah, basically you hit a certain point, especially as you get older, and the potential of the NHL becomes a thing, and it's like, okay, well now you live on ice, and that becomes your world, so you can be the best you can possibly be.
Yeah, that is for sure. So my son's, he's into it, man. And, we love it. But our weekends are completely consumed. And during the week is all practices. Weekends are all games. And we have to travel. I mean, we travel, as far as 3, 4, 5 hours away for games. So it's a travel team, and it's really serious. They're into it.
Have you guys ever come up to Canada to play other Canadian teams?
No, but there was talks actually of some tournaments. I would love that, man, to be honest with you. They have talked about it, but he represents, so in this Wolfpack team, they represent like 4 different leagues, and I don't know them all, the EJ, the NW, this, the L, all this stuff. So I know they've talked about it because there's not a lot of teams that compete at that level. So we have to travel to other states just to play teams that can perform at this level for a 12-year-old. Otherwise, we would just cream everybody. I mean, you got to see these kids play, man. It's insane.
Well, I mean, you think about it, too. If they're playing 5 days a week and have personal trainers and all the rest of it, it's like you've got to be seriously good for people to dedicate that amount of time to build that up, right? So
Yeah. And his coach is a 10, 15-year NHL player from Canada. From Ontario.
Really? Who is it?
He's Bob Crawford. So he played, I know he was on the Rangers for a bit. I think he was on the Blues, but came from Canada. So I know that he was on a Canadian team as well. I'm not quite sure who it was, but Bobby Crawford. And he's not an old guy, and he's not a young guy. He's retired for quite a while. Now he owns rinks. He has like 3 ice rinks here in Connecticut, and that's Brandon's personal coach. I mean, that's his coach. So he gets his ass kicked. Last night on the ice, he was yelling at him, "Do you want to be a hockey player?" And he's yelling at the kids, "Who wants to be a hockey player?" So I yelled out, "I do. And he says, "Then come on down." As I was up in the bleachers. It was a lot of fun.
So I get that right? Your son's name is Brandon as well?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, that makes it easier to remember mine then.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, so he has the same passion for hockey that I did for music. So I actually started performing, I was 8 years old, and then playing professionally at 11 years old. So when I see my Brandon going through this, like, "Dad, I need this gear, I want this, God, if there's a way that we can get this, I can train on that, and I need a different stick and a this and that." I see myself telling my dad, if I had that Lexicon PCM 41 or that 42 delay unit, I can make my voice sound like this, and if there's a way, and then I saw my dad doing everything under his power to try to afford that piece of gear and this, that, and the other. And so
that's it's perfect, because that leads me into my first question. So take me kind of the beginning of you as a musician. Like, where'd you grow up? How did you start to get into music? I mean, going pro at 11 is insanely early. I mean, I think of me at 11, I was trying to, master the G chord. So
yeah, I know. I used to say to my mom, "My friends want to play with like Tonka toys," and it's like, I've got a gig in New York. So I grew up on the East Coast of the U.S., and it's pretty interesting. I was born and raised in New York, and we moved out in 1972. So I was a young punk. I was like 4 years old, and we moved out because it's kind of funny. I mean, you want the story? Here's the story, man. The Italian mob activity was pretty strong in my neighborhood, and we were neighbors with John Gotti. He was a very famous mobster.
Oh, well, Victoria, his daughter, yep.
And so, they're still there, actually. So I came from Howard Beach, Queens, New York, and the next thing I know, it was like, one day I was there, and the next day I was in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, among the Amish people with horse and buggies and things, and I swear it was witness protection. I'm not sure. My dad's not talking, but that's where I was raised. I was raised in Pennsylvania, and I went to school, not all of my schooling, but most of it in Pennsylvania, and that's where I met my wife in high school. But at a very, very young age, at 8 years old, I found interest in playing in music through my brother. So my brother, Joe, who was in Hardline with me, of course, he's 6 years older than I am, and you always want to do what your older brother's doing.
Right.
So he started playing, and I was like, wow, that's cool. So I would always obviously borrow his gear. He had an acoustic guitar. I grab it. And I didn't know that I had a natural gift. I just found a passion and an interest in music, and loved to show people that I knew how to play this thing. So I was self-taught in all of these instruments. But at that time, at 8 years old, I was really into theater too and acting. So I had to make a decision. I had my own television show that I hosted, like a children's show. I did a lot of off-Broadway. I did a lot of theater, local theater and stuff like that. I was really into the stage and, doing these musicals and stuff like that. At 11 years old, I had an offer to do a very big off-Broadway show, and I had a music gig, and it was at that point, I'll never forget, I had to decide, oh my God, what am I going to do here? I either have to go full acting theater or full music, but I can't do both because it's interfering. Can you imagine having to make that decision at 11? But I did.
Like I said, I'm still trying to master the G chord, and I can't wait for hockey practice this weekend. You're making this, what 21, 22-year-olds would just kill to have these two offers in front of them, and you're just like, well, I'm 11 making this choice, right?
I was a bit of an odd kid. I mean, believe me, I love to play outside and do all the stuff the kids did, but I just found it intriguing to entertain people. I loved the feeling to make someone laugh if I was on the stage doing a comedy musical or something like that, or people cheer if I had, a lot of passion in the music and a lot of intensity and the song ends and you hear that, I love that feeling. So we did this show. It was an outdoor show. I was 11 years old. I had an understudy with the theater show I was doing at the time. And that audience was filled with just unbelievably beautiful girls. And when I saw that, even at 11 years old, I was like, okay, this is the business for me. I like this. And it was at that was the turning point. Wow, look how these girls are reacting to this. I mean, I'm a little kid. And they're like, wow, cheering and screaming and the whole thing. I went, okay, I like this. So I pursued music 100% and continued my schooling in Pennsylvania only until 11th grade, because I was playing, and even at 11th grade, I wasn't there, man. I was playing every single weekend, rehearsing every single night. We rehearsed in my house. My poor dad and mom could never hear a TV, never. They learned to read lips. That's how loud we were in the bass, typical basement band coming up. But what we did was, my family has a strong business background as far as, not degree-wise, but entrepreneurial. And so I just saw this as a great career, and I was serious about it. It wasn't just like, oh, cool, man, let's jam, let's get together and jam, and hey, maybe we can get a gig at this club or let's do a private party. It was, no, I want to be like Kiss. Like, I want that stage, I want those explosions, and I want to be singing when those bombs go off. And so we had that vision, and we had full parental support, which these days is tough to get. You imagine, hey, mom, dad, I want to be a rock star. But my parents saw that both my brother and I had talent and had the passion for it and the dedication, and they supported it emotionally and financially. I mean, that equipment's not cheap. And I remember they walked with freaking holes in their shoes so that we could have a new guitar or a new microphone or a better cable or whatever. So it was really a family focus on trying to bring this thing to the next level. So now I'll take you through playing many, many shows and getting hassled in school all the time. It's kind of a cool story, man, especially for the listeners. It's a cool story.
So in school, are you kind of like a rock star then, walking through the halls?
Yeah. So I am. I'm this young rock star dude with his hair was just starting to grow out, kind of had pretty good hockey hair. And I was always in the newspaper and doing shows, and I was never really in school. So the principal, this is a cool story. So now we're in high school. I'm not there mentally, man. I'm rocking and rolling, and at the time I'm making probably more money in one night than my principal did in 2 or 3 weeks. So principal called me to the office, and I won't mention his name, there's no need to, but he said, Johnny, I know what you do. I see you in the paper all the time. And when you're not here, I know most likely you're doing something for music. Please don't lie to us on your excuses, because how many times can you have a sore throat and a stomach ache? Just tell us what you're doing, and we'll accept that. We understand. I said, okay, thanks very much. I appreciate it. Wouldn't you know, Brandon, that next week, I get a call from Paul Stanley from Kiss.
No.
Calls my home, yes. Calls my home and says, look, I heard some of your music and I'm getting into producing. We're going back, man. I mean, I'm a young punk, so I have to be 16 years old, 16, 17, right? And he calls and he says, I want to hear more stuff that you're doing. Write some more music. I want to hear what you're writing. I want to hear the direction you're going, blah, blah, blah. So I tell my mom, I'm not going to school this week. That was Paul Stanley from Kiss. He wants me to write. I'm staying home. She said, okay, that's fine. So we get through all that. I'm writing. And I used to literally, my mom would scream at me because I'd be 15, 16 hours straight without eating in my recording studio, in my basement. We had this little makeshift studio. I just never stopped, man. I loved it so much, just building songs and creating. And she'd say, you have to eat. Come on, Italian mother. Of course, you got to eat.
Yeah.
So we go through that stuff. I send off the music. Nothing ever happened with it, but I sent it off to Paul Stanley. Never heard back, so maybe he hated it, but whatever. But it comes time now. My mother says, okay, well, what do you want to write on the excuse? I said, Ma, tell the principal, the truth. So she goes, okay, dear such and such, Johnny got a call from Paul Stanley from Kiss. Now, can you imagine? Now we're in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Amish country, horse and buggies, cantaloupes, and chicken eggs. And she writes this excuse. He couldn't come to school because, Paul Stanley needed some new music. He focused on that, blah, blah, blah. I went to school. I got called to the office, and this principal just about kicked my ass, shoved me up against lockers, told me I need to get a life. I need my education, which you do. There's no denying you need an education. I'm not promoting not having a good, solid education. But it was the way he did that I went home and I said, Mom, I'm done. Okay. And she said, okay, absolutely. So it's kind of funny. So I dropped out of school to work 100% on music. I end up so now I'm 18 years old. I go off to California, work with the band Brunette, bring that up to a very popular status, a lot of recognition, but never a record deal. Join forces with Neil Schon, and we can talk about some of that stuff, of course.
Yeah, well, just take me back, just before you jump ahead, take me back to Brunette. So Brunette wasn't your band in Pennsylvania when you're in high school, right?
It kind of was. It was called Killer Hit. Don't ask me what that meant, but it was called Killer Hit. And it kind of morphed into, and that band decided we need to go to California where the industry was happening.
Yep.
So that morphed into Brunette. So yes, it kind of was. But at the time, I was playing drums and I was the lead singer behind the drums. And then when we got out to California, we said, no, it's all wrong. I have to be up front. We'll get another drummer. So we moved things around like that.
And then so you're 18 and that's when you guys decide to move up to Cali?
Yeah, so we move out to Cali and then we just worked the whole Sunset Strip, that club scene, and build what we call build our own army on the ground. We had lots of fans. We'd sell out shows in 20 minutes and it was really great, but we never got a record deal. And it was a lot of work, man. It's all we did, too. We didn't work. And we were poor, man. We were so poor that we literally would mark our nectarines. If we had an orange, it's like, you eat my nectarine, you're gonna get kicked in the nuts because that's my freaking nectarine. We were poor, and we could have been doing other things and earning elsewhere, but we'd rather be poor and work on our music, and that's what we did. We rehearsed all the time, we wrote all the time, we promoted all the time, and that was Brunette. But Brunette never got a record deal. It was just that we just weren't ready.
Now here's a question I have for you. I've got one of the demos that Brunette did. It was really good. I mean, it's kind of basically pre-Hardline.
Yeah.
How did you guys wind up covering Hot Cherie? Because that's street hard, isn't it?
Yeah, so Hot Cherie's written by Danny Spanos, and during the Brunette time, we were asked by Francis Ford Coppola's son, Roman Coppola, to star in a movie that he was creating called Smash, Crash, and Burn, and that's exactly what the movie did, by the way. It was never released, thank God. It was horrible, but they hired Dana Strum from Slaughter to produce the music for that film. So we worked with Dana, and it was Dana who said, hey, I've got this song that I think you guys could cover, and let's bring it to life. It's a hit song, I know it, but no one's ever covered it. I think it'd be perfect. And that's where it came from. It was actually Dana Strum from Slaughter who brought that to us, and he was 1,000,000% right. He's a very smart guy. that song has done very, very well for us with that remake. But it was written by Danny Spanos. We didn't write it. We just remade it.
Right, yeah, because I'm just wondering, you guys from LA, how are you aware of Street Heart? Like, how did that kind of...
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, we weren't. We weren't at all. So we just listened. We said, that's a great tune. And it's kind of funny, too. So Brunette runs its course and its life, and now we morph into back to my brother and I, back to our roots. And my brother and I said, okay, let's do a hard rock version of like the Nelson Twins. Even though my brother and I are not twins, let's do a heavy version of that, and we'll call it Brothers, which we thought was cool. And let's just start demoing. And then we'll shop it. Well, we met Neil. Neil actually married my sister. They were together for a long time, and we would go back to Pennsylvania. So this story, Brandon, runs full circle. You'll see where I'm going with this. So we go back to Pennsylvania for one of our holiday family get-togethers. Neil always flew back. But we never asked anything of Neil. Never. We didn't want his help. Like, hey, help us, what contact, this, that, and the other. But one Christmas, we were back there, and I was playing Face the Night. I won't let you face the night alone. That tune in my kitchen with my brother, and Neil comes running in. Literally, he ran in. He's like, man, give me the guitar. And he starts playing these chords. He goes, try this, try that. And Neil is probably, Neil is the number one underrated guitar player, I think, in the world. His chord knowledge is just, it's off the charts. And he can't name the damn chord. He's not like, he doesn't chart or write. He can't tell you what the chord is. It's a diminished A minor seventh with an augmented. He doesn't know. He's like, I don't know, man. It just freaking sounds cool. That's Neil. He's brilliant. So he took that song and really increased the chord knowledge and value, and it became like, holy shit. And so we said, hey, Neil, are you interested in helping us produce this demo? No pressure. That was amazing what you did to the song, and let me play you this one. And then he heard Hot Cherie. He goes, man, that's a freaking hit. So he said, listen, I'm working on the next Bad English record, but why don't you work at my house all day? This can be the schedule. Work at my house all day. When I come home from the studio, we'll go through all the pieces that you worked on. And I did that, Brandon, for months and months. He would literally go to the studio. I'd drive to his house in Laurel Canyon, California. We're still in Cali. And I'd write, and he'd come home and go, okay, I've got this little piece, Change of Heart. And I would play him all the stuff that's on Double Eclipse, Can't Find My Way, In the Hands of Time. He'd go, man, I love it. And then he would sit down, and we'd work together to bring those songs to a, more, bring them to life. And with his knowledge and vision, he was the perfect producer. So fast forwarding a little bit, Neil says, hey, man, I love this stuff. I want to be part of the band. We were like, what? So we actually said no. My brother and I, we have a different vision of what we want to do. And he couldn't believe that we said no, that we don't want Neil Schon. You're like, man, I'm Neil Schon. But we did. We had a very clear vision of what we wanted, but we kept working together, and Neil became like a brother. And fast forwarding, Neil joins Hardline. We worked very hard to demo music. Neil is the greatest guy. He didn't care what environment. We didn't go into fancy studios to demo things. We were in my apartment with my now wife, who was a girlfriend at the time, and we had couches up on end and makeshift vocal booths and, whatever it took to. And I'll never forget our very first demo that got us the record deal. We had paper clips and like, okay, Neil, at this point in the song, you push that fader up, and whatever it took to get the job done, Neil was cool with. He didn't care. He's a true musician, just like, let's get it done. And we don't have to be in a fancy controlled environment. So we shopped it, and there was a bit of a bidding war for us between Interscope Records and MCA, which is now Universal Music. And we grabbed the Universal Music deal, and it was probably one of the biggest deals, about $8.5 million deal for a new band. That was no one's seen that kind of deal in a very, very long time. What's funny about the story, and then we'll talk more, of course, answer your questions, Brandon, but I went back to visit Pennsylvania. This is where this comes full circle. And of course, I was in all the newspapers that, Johnny Gioeli lands this massive record deal and, $8 million and blah, 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 and all this crap. And I was at a hardware store. We had like Home Depot and Lowe's, and we had a place called Heckinger's, and I was picking up light bulbs or something. And guess who I ran into? I ran into the principal of my old high school. And that's where satisfaction and, with success can really come into play. And that guy offered me a high school, he came to me, he says, "Johnny, did you ever get your diploma?" I said, "Actually, no, I got a GED, a general diploma, high school equivalent." He goes, "Well, I'd like to exchange that for you for my high school diploma." And I said, of course, I don't want to mention his name. I said, "You know what? Thank you, but no thank you." And I said, "I've done everything on my own, and I'm not going to start advertising your high school." And it's just crazy, man. That very same principal, now that I'm successful, wanted to exchange, and so I would help advertise that school. Anyway, that was just a crazy lesson for me that you just got to stick to what you're passionate about and stay with that. But it's kind of funny how everyone comes out of the woodwork once you become successful.
For sure. Well, I'm sure especially you signed that $8.5 million thing, and I'm sure, friends of friends and distant cousins and whatnot, "Hey, how you doing?" That kind of thing.
Yeah, right? Yeah, they weren't supposed to mention any dollar amount. It was just supposed to be a very large deal. And of course, the media has no conscience, and they just, we had a lot of people who claim to have known me came out of the woodwork, but it's all good. It's all good.
I think I'm just thinking of that dollar amount and going I can think of Motley Crue, or maybe it was Dawkins. Somebody signed a $25 million deal that I'm aware of, but it not being the 90s anymore, I can't imagine a deal like that these days.
Think about it.
It's
exactly.
mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. That was 25 years ago, bro. So to that kind of money, it was pretty serious back then. But it was crazy. The first Double Eclipse record, people may not realize, that cost us, the band, $500,000 to make that record. Today, if I spend more than 10 grand making a record, I kick my own ass. It's not necessary. You know what I mean? I don't know what that, and I got to tell you honestly, you get so caught up in the industry and you got to do this and you got to do that. I remember we spent $36,000 on lunch while we were in the studio. And you're like, are you kidding me? We look back at those numbers and we laugh so hard. Like, what the hell were we eating? I know we had a lot of sushi, we had a lot of nice stuff, but $36,000 on food. It's insane. And, it's just the way things were done back then. There was and it was the way it was. Yeah, that's the studios were very, very expensive, and now you have studios in your closet at home and that sound just as good. So it's just all changed, man. The industry's changed. But yeah, we spent $500,000 on that very first record.
Well, that I can believe. I was actually looking through the credits the other day, and I saw, NRG Studios in there. I've been there in Hollywood, and it's okay, I can see that being a bit pricey, trying to rent that out, especially back in the 90s when I'm sure studio rates were much, much higher than they are today.
Yeah, I remember 25 years ago, we did basic tracks in A&M recording studios in Hollywood, and I think that was $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a day 25 years ago. And we spent weeks and weeks in there, man, cutting tracks. So, yeah, and today, forget it. That just doesn't happen. A lot of those studios are gone.
So you guys have recorded the album. You've got this massive contract. So take me kind of through the early days of sort of its release and so forth. What was the lead-off single? Was it Hot Cherie? I know that was one of the singles from it.
Actually, it was not. It was Taking Me Down.
Oh, it was?
Taking Me Down.
Okay.
Yep. And that song actually charted higher than Hot Cherie. And then they pulled it real quick to try to get to the ballad and, typical things that record companies do because they want to get to the money. They want the money maker fast, so they can recoup all of this money. Just so the listeners understand, when you get an $8.5 million record deal, it doesn't mean you get to keep that money. You got to pay it all back. It's like a big, happy loan to you. And if you don't pay it back, you're done. See you later. You get kicked in the ass and you're done. So they released Taking Me Down. It was very successful. I think it went to number 6 on the Billboard 100. It was very successful. We sold a lot of records in the U.S. We started touring, and we focused really hard on the U.S., and I don't know why. I guess it's just what you do. But we had sold it the first week over 100,000 records in Japan. I mean, it was a lot through import. So they're buying it as an import, and throughout Europe, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of records, and did really well. But I'll never forget John Kolodner. I don't know if you're familiar with his name.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Massive name in the industry.
So John came to the studio and said, guys, really sorry, this sounds really great, but it's over. And we're like, what? Because it's over. MTV's not going to, MTV's going away. You're not going to see any more music videos. You've got a new band. I want you guys to hear this band called Pearl Jam. And I'm like, what the hell is a Pearl Jam? I said, I don't know. It sounds like something I put on my toast. What is that? And he goes, I want you to listen to this. And he played that track, whatever the hell that song was. Even Flow, whatever. Even Flow. Yeah. So we were like, this is pure shit. What is it? Can't even hear what the hell this guy's saying. I said, does he have a sandwich in his mouth? What's going on? And John laughs. He goes, this is the new shit. This is it. And we're like, what are you talking about? No way, man. You kidding me? He goes, yeah, forget it. Bon Jovi and Scorpions, it's done. It's over. That whole sound is finished, and you're not going to see these bands on MTV anymore. It's over. And we thought he was crazy. And then Brandon, he just nailed it. This guy, he was very powerful in the industry, and it was over. And our timing, our album was what we thought was really great. We loved it. We were passionate about it. I worked all my life to create that very first album. And like a flash, it's like, boom, over. Industry changes, grunge moves in, Seattle bands come in, bye-bye Hardline. And to get record company support was difficult for following records unless we decided to change our style. And we said no. Music has to come from within and not from within your wallet. Although it's nice to have that kind of bankroll, if you're not true to yourself, then it's a wasted art and it's a lie. So we literally, and I'll never forget this meeting. We had a meeting with a new A&R guy who took over, who used to work with Journey. He said, look, I believe in you guys, but you have to stylistically change. You've got to grunge out a little bit. You got to do, and we want to put you with these top producers in grunge, and it was actually guys who produced Pearl Jam record, but they're expensive. They're a couple $100,000 to produce the record. And Neil flipped out. Brandon goes, no way, I'm producing the record. Forget it. We don't need anybody. We're not spending that kind of money, blah, 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 blah. I looked to our personal manager at the time, and I said, Bill, we're done. And the next day, we got a phone call, and we're done. So if you've ever heard the old cliche, here today, gone tomorrow, it was here today, gone tomorrow afternoon, like that.
Okay, so take me through the timeline. Was it when you're recording Double Eclipse that Kolodner comes in and says you're done?
Well, it's when, yes. So we're recording, and Kolodner comes in and says, this music is done. Great job, guys. Awesome. Love this song. Oh, my God, that's a smash. It's wonderful, but no one's going to play it. Good luck to you. It's not happening. And, I will tell you, Brandon, I can tell you now, and I don't really care. We had to pay off MTV to play our videos. We had to send envelopes of cash to certain people in that organization to get videos played.
That's crazy.
It was wild, man, because they just weren't doing it. But for us, if we got one play of Hot Cherie or one play of Can't Find My Way on VH1 or MTV, or there was a video thing called The Box, we sold a lot of records. And in turn, the record company made money, so they were okay with a little payola. It's pretty wild, man. It was big, big business. And back then, we had fax machines, man. There was no email. And I would monitor. My job within the band, besides singing and songwriting, was to monitor airplay. And I never forget this, man. We had a big map in my office, and I had the little push pins. And you either had light rotation, medium rotation, or heavy rotation. So areas, every Wednesday I'd get a report from the record company. It'd say, KLOS or KNAC is running you at medium rotation, and I want high rotation. So I put a little pin. So yellow was medium, green was high rotation, and red was low. And I could look at the U.S. and go, holy crap, I can see the Midwest. We're not even existing in the Midwest, so let's triple up our promotion there. And it was big business, man. And I did it with push pins. You could just literally see the map and where we were sucking and where we were doing great. it was wild times, man. Wild times.
Did you guys begin to prepare a second record? Or once you guys kind of pushed out Double Eclipse and whatnot, you guys just kind of folded at that point? Like, were there plans to do another record? Or did you guys kind of know already with Double Eclipse that was kind of it?
Well, we did plan, and we were writing for it, and that's all I did every day of and every hour of my life. I was a studio rat. And we were preparing, but it was after that meeting when they wanted us to alter the style and come up with different, more grungy sound. And Neil had an argument with the A&R guy. That's when we got that call and it was over. So we never made it technically to the second studio album. We had a live album and stuff like that, but we never made it to the second studio album. It was over. And then look, with all due respect to Neil and even Dean, these guys lived a much more lavish life than I did, and they had, you have big toys, you have big bills to go along with those toys, and they had to move on. And so that's what happened. It was just kind of like, no one ever said, hey, okay, we're breaking up, it's done, it's over. It just was like, oh, shit, okay, God, I got a Ferrari payment, man. Oh, shit, I gotta get to work. Yeah. You know what I mean, Brandon? So everyone just kind of moved on. And I was the guy who suggested to Neil to get Journey back together. I said, Neil, what are you doing? The Eagles just got off tour. They made like $50 gazillion. Get back in the game. Get back with Steve and put out another record, go on tour, and have a good time, make a bunch of money, because, that was his lifestyle. And, God bless you. He's like, man, yeah, I think I'll do that. And that's, and you know that story. So.
That's unreal. Okay, so let's jump bands a little bit, because I know kind of at this point you guys were sort of on hiatus. How do you get joined up with Axel Rudi Pell? I mean, you're coming up on 20 years with him. How did you meet and so forth?
That's a long time. Yeah, you're right. So after Hardline, I took this hiatus because, when you have an $8.5 million record deal and you're playing with Van Halen and then all of a sudden it's over, that's borderline needing some therapy, man. Yep. So I had to sit down for a little while to absorb all of this. Like, wait, what just happened? So I let some time go by. My brother and I started this business together in California, and that was hugely successful business. So I was really busy and just kind of pushed music aside a little bit. I got an email. Yep, now we're out of fax machines. We're into email now. From Jeff Scott Soto, who used to sing with Axel, and said, hey, I gave your number. I hope it's okay. I gave your email to this guy named Axel Rudi Pell. I'm not going to sing with him anymore, but he's interested in talking to you. And I said, okay, cool, bro. I hope you're good, and thanks. And I emailed with Axel for 1 year, and I listened to the tunes, and I'm like, it's kind of interesting, man. I mean, this is like what I grew up on, that old Rainbow kind of sound, and Dio, and Sabbathy, Ozzy kind of sound. I mean, that's the way when I sing, naturally I growl. It just happens, what happens to my voice. So this is cool. Let me check this thing out. So I said, okay, man, I'll do a CD with you and see what happens. And that's how I met Axel. I had never even heard his voice. We emailed for 1 year. And the first time I met him getting off a train in Bochum, Germany, that was the first time I ever heard his voice. He's like, hey, man, how you doing? Nice to meet you. And we went right to the studio. And the rest is history.
So that initial album, you actually did go over to Germany to record it, to be part of the band?
Yeah, the first bunch of records we did, yes, I did.
So the first couple records you went to Germany, and then slowly over time, did it kind of morph into you do your parts in the States and then just, drop box it or whatever over?
Yeah, exactly. So what we do is, it's Axel's band, so he writes the material. I'll help him with anything that if there's a language barrier, I'll help him with the English. And then we get on Skype, man. God bless Skype. And we work through the lines for melody, literally from my studio to his on Skype. And like, what do you think about this, Axel? Da, 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 da. Okay, no, how about why don't we da, da, da? And we just go back and forth. Yeah. And I'll lay down a basic track. And I'll say, okay, brother, I know what you need. Talk to you later. Talk to you tomorrow. It's just a chemistry that, I know what he wants. And it's very easy for me. And it works. So that's how we do it now, because I got that hockey kid.
Yeah.
And so I'm busy as hell. I can't fly to Germany. I gotta get on the ice.
What's your touring schedule like with them? Like, has Axel ever played the States at all?
No, he hasn't. And so that's the cool thing that actually works for me. Not that I would be opposed to playing the States with Axel, but I think my guess is we'd probably draw about 9 people at Starbucks.
Yep.
That's probably the attendance level. It's just not a sound that works here. But there, I mean, we can sell out 20, 30, 40,000 people. I mean, it's insane how big ARP is in Europe. But the touring schedule is cool because Axel doesn't like to tour a lot. He likes to do these little, 2-3 week tours, take a break, 3 months later, do another 2-3 weeks, and then do some festival shows. And with my busy ass life, it's perfect, bro. It's enough balance. For me, life's about balance. I have my family, I have my kids, I have a daughter in college, and my son, of course, and wife. But for me, it's like, how can I balance all these things where I keep everybody happy and myself happy? So it's the perfect situation for me because I can go to Europe, which gives me a little bit of diversion from normal life here in the U.S., and I can play rock star and enjoy touring, enjoy music, enjoy the crowds, enjoy the people, enjoy the new areas we go to, and then come back. And then it takes me about a day before my wife says, "Hey, can you take the trash out?" I'm like, "What? I get trash out? What are you talking?" I'm like, "Okay, wait, I'm back. Okay, yeah, I'll take the trash out." So it's just nice, man. It's a nice balance, and we've been together so long, that band, that we know each other inside and out, and it's just cool. We're all brothers. We know how to tour together. There's never any problems, and it's just easy and fun, and that's why I do it.
And jumping bands again, how did you get hooked up with guitarist Jun Sanu and Crush 40?
Yeah, so Jun was a huge Hardline fan, and like I said earlier, Japan was a big market for us. And he had worked with Doug Aldrich, and Doug was in Whitesnake for a little while, and great player. And I worked with Doug, and we wrote together. And Doug actually helped us in Brunette once in a while, even though he was a blonde. Couldn't get him to dye his hair. But anyway, Doug Aldrich contacted me, just like Jeff Scott Soto contacted me for Axel. Doug contacted me and said, "This guy in Japan is interested in talking to you." And so June called me and we talked. He said, "Look, I love your voice, and I'd like you. We have this new project, and I'd like you to record some songs for Sega. Are you interested?" And I scratched my head. I said, "This is interesting. I've never done anything like this. It's a different market, and it won't cross into anything I'm doing now. And yeah, why not? I'm getting older, and why not, venture into some other things?" So I did it, and here we are again, 18, 19 years later. After we did that first bunch of songs for Sega, I said to June, I said, "Hey, man, why don't we form a band similar to a movie having a soundtrack? These games can relate to a band." So I said, "So you either buy the game because you love the game, or you buy the game because you love the band that's on the game, or vice versa." He goes, "I love it." He goes, "What do we call it?" I go, "I don't know. Because the first album came out, it was called
Sons of Angels.
Yeah. There was another band, and at that point, I wasn't involved so heavily where it mattered to me. I'm like, okay, Sons of Angels, whatever, that's cool. I just did the music and sang, and that was it. So I said, I don't know. I said, I'm 30. I forget how old I was, 32, 33, whatever. And I said, I don't want to turn 40 years old, so let's just call it Crush 40, because I'm crushing 40. I'm not going there. I'm not going 40. And we laughed, and here we are. So we're going to have to change the band name soon to Crush 50 because we're getting there. But anyway, and that's how that was born. And it's really great because it's just June and I. And again, we work sometimes in the studio together, but most times it's passing files and, hey, I got this idea, or there's a game and here's the scene. And I like that work, man, because you're still creative, but you have some guidance, because it's like a movie. They literally send you storyboards, and I didn't know these characters, bro. I had to have my kids like, who the hell's an evil Eggman? What the hell's an Eggman? I don't know this stuff.
Okay, so yeah, explain this process more. How does this? So is it like a movie where they kind of play the scene, and as a composer you sit down and watch it, or how does a video game composition work?
Kind of, sort of. It's not quite as intricate as a soundtrack to a movie where you're watching every single movement and you're scoring it. But it is a storyboard, and I still have them too. I have them in California actually still, and it's really intriguing. They have in English what the scene is about, in Japanese, which of course I can't read, what the scene is about, and then they have handwritten pictures. So they literally have drawings, not handwritten. They have drawings in pencil of the scene. And so I would take these and I would hand them to my kids. And I'd tell my daughter, because she was older at the time than my son, I'd say, tell me what this is about. Because Dad doesn't have time to read about an egg or an Eggman. So at the time, and she'd say, okay, Dad, well, the evil Eggman takes over this, and Shadow does this, and Sonic does this. And I went, okay, I got it. And then June sends me a piece of music that he has a creative feeling for that scene. And then I do all the melody and lyrics. And it just, thank God I'm knocking on wood as I sit in my kitchen here, it just comes out. And that's how we've worked it for all these years. June doesn't write lyrics. He doesn't write melody to lyrics. He can, but sometimes he offers suggestions. But that's it. That's how we do it. So it's off of a storyboard like a movie. And we say, okay, this has to be a slow song. Here's what happens. And whatever this character ends up leaving the scene because of this, she gets crushed with the hammer, and then we write. That's it.
And I know you guys do live gigs as well. How often do you play with Crush 40?
Not very, man. It's a very exclusive sort of band. Of course, June lives in Japan. I live here in America. And we will do special events and conventions, and which are mind-blowing to me. I mean, some of these conventions are bigger than any gig I've ever played in my life. I mean, some of these conventions are 300,000 people. I mean, it's insanity. But there are very few that happen to that capacity, and we're very selective on where we play and what we do together. But we are planning some shows in Japan. We like to do some non-Sonic related shows and play all those hits for the fans, and they always go over really well in Tokyo. Again, any convention that is best suited for us, we like to go and always perform. So we don't have anything on the calendar right now, but we are working on some things. And I am doing some appearances at some conventions coming up in the States, which I'm really excited about. So I'll get on panels, and I like to answer the questions. As you can tell, I like to talk, right, Brandon?
Yeah, works for me. It's just like, here's a question, and
go.
Sit back, and it works.
Sit back and listen. So I'll do panels and autograph signings, and I love meeting all these kids and adults too, because they're very passionate about their gaming, and it reminds me of myself when I was coming up in music. And they're very focused on it, and they're really appreciative of the music. And I never knew before doing some of these conventions how some of these kids, literally this music they grew up with. I mean, it took them through time periods of their life. It's a memory for them, and a positive one. And so to meet these kids and hear about these stories, I love it, man. And before social networking and things like that, the whole social aspect of the internet, I was unable to connect with the fans like that. It was old school fan letters, and you're like, okay, how am I going to write everybody back? It's impossible. So to learn how these songs have affected kids in a positive way and taken them through critical times, maybe not so happy times in their life. I love meeting those people and appreciating them for using my creativity, my music to help them. I mean, that's what it's about. Music is to unite people. It's to give you a feeling, and it's to carry you through. I mean, we all have our favorite songs. We used to crank up in the car, and so that's what it's all about. Music unites.
And are there plans for Crush 40? You mentioned you may do a few conventions or whatnot. Are there plans to record some new music?
Yes. June and I, we keep talking about it. We want to. He has an equally busy life. He's very, very busy with Sega. June runs all the production for Sega. So every special effect, every sound you hear, every song, it's him. So to tell you how busy this guy is, when I was there, he literally got called into a meeting at 10 p.m. at night, mandatory company meeting. And I said, bro, are you kidding me? He goes, yeah. I said, what time will you finish the meeting? He goes, probably 2 a.m. Could you imagine? So you get called in to your workplace, mandatory. Leave your family, leave your kids. Sorry. Get your ass to work. We're going to work. We have a deadline. And there he goes. So to put together new Crush 40 music is a bit of a task, only because of schedule. Do we crank it out fast? Absolutely. It's just saying, okay, let's block this time out and let's work on all these ideas we have brewing in our heads. Do we want to, Brandon? Absolutely, man. We love it. We love it. So we are talking about coming out with actually a new EP or full length for 2017. We're talking about it.
Oh, fantastic. As far as things you've done, like Crush 40, because like you mentioned, the gaming, that definitely impacted me as well. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'll never forget. So are you familiar with the song Live and Learn?
Of course. Well, it's
Okay,
one of the big ones, I would consider.
Yeah, that was one of the big ones. And after I wrote that, I sat back and I go, gosh, I hope it's good. I didn't even know. I'm like, okay, it's like one of these scenes where, I just didn't know that it worked for the scene and worked for Sega. And I literally lost sleep over that song. I'm like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, boom, there it goes. I said, okay, I guess everyone likes it. So fun stuff, because you never really know what the result is going to be, with the fans, because we have to write for ourselves and we have to write for the scene. So unfortunately, we don't write what we think the fan wants to hear. That's not the way it works in music. You have to write for yourself. It comes from within first in hopes that fan likes it. And that's the way it was with that song. It was just like, okay, gosh, I hope this thing's good. I mean, it sounds good to me. I just don't know if it's going to be accepted. And
it's kind of funny, just on that note, I just had this thought now, but you think as far as a hit, and like Hardline had hits on MTV that you can kind of quantify with a Billboard chart and stuff, but you don't really think of, like you did Live and Learn, and I mean, I pulled that up the other day on YouTube, and that's, I don't know, 8 million views, something like that, and you just think, 8 million views, that's a hit. It's in a video game, and probably, I don't know if it ever hit, maybe a chart in Japan or something, but I mean, that's a legitimate hit, but you don't ever kind of think of it in those terms. All these people that have played this video game will have heard that song.
Yes, it's true, man. It blows my mind. And it's not until I do one of these conventions to where I see the impact, like that song. I mean, you could just the intro alone, people just like, they know immediately. And I'm like, that's incredible. And that is testament to the power of music. Right there. And, that's what we strive for as musicians, to have that effect on people in a positive way. And it brings you back. You can, as a kid, you remember playing that game. You remember hearing that song. You remember that scene. You remember what you felt like. You enjoyed that game. You were trying to reach certain levels, and it's all good stuff, man. It's all good. Today, I don't know what the hell music is about. It's frustrating. I don't know what it's about. I really don't. So I just continue to stick with what I do. And until someone tells me I don't want to hear it anymore, I keep doing it.
Yep.
So I let the fans and the people drive me creatively. And I stick to that. And I won't change. This is what I do. I don't do anything else. This is the way I write. This is the way I sound. I'm not going to tomorrow be a country star. This is who I am. Take it or leave it.
So let's jump back to Hardline now. So we kind of left off with you guys having broken up, and you've gone on to do other things in the meantime. What brought about the reunion of you guys in the early 2000s?
Okay, another interesting story. So I went through my whole few years of therapy after Hardline. I didn't really have therapy. I just needed some downtime.
Yep, I hear you.
And it was Frontiers Records owner Serafino Perugino. Mm-hmm. What a great Italian name. Serafino Perugino. It's as bad as mine. But he contacted me and said, we need your voice. And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, no, I want to do a Hardline record. I said, no, Hardline's no more, man. We're done. He goes, no. Your voice was Hardline. I want your voice. I need to hear your voice on a Hardline record. I said, no, man, not interested. Thank you very much. Talk to you later. A week later, I need your voice on a record. No, Serafino. This went on for months. And I don't know. I think at the time he thought I was negotiating for big money. I wasn't. And he kept increasing the production money. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not about that. It's I don't want to do this. This was a period in my life. It was successful, and let's just leave it alone. But he pushed and pushed and pushed, and all my friends, family said, you know what? He's right. You wrote a majority of those songs, and the fans love it, and you should keep it alive. If there's a market for it, you should keep it alive. It's what you do. And so Brandon and I did it, and here we are. We just charted in Billboard Top 100 for the new album, Human Nature, and it's just here we go.
So that band, I'm trying to even remember who was on 2. Like, because from what I understand, 2 was a lot of the songs from that were going to be on the next album after Double Eclipse.
Yeah, a portion of them. That's correct, man. You've done your homework, bro. So Josh played on 2. It was going to be Joey Tafoya, who's my good friend, but then it wouldn't meet his schedule. So I said, bro, this record's got to get done. Sorry. And so I met Josh Ramos from Neil. It's funny. We were doing an awards ceremony thing up in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, and Neil introduced me to Josh Ramos and said, this guy, man, sounds exactly like me. And we all laughed. And he goes, he does, man. And Josh said, well, Neil, I love your playing. And Josh was in the band called The Storm, which was all ex-members of Journey. Mm-hmm. And Josh and I became friends. And I thought he was the perfect, sort of replacement for Neil. So Josh did all the solos on Hardline 2, and I know I went through a few drummers and bass players to get it right, and now I'm confident that I've got the right band that I love, and my Italian mates and Josh, and that's the current lineup.
So how did the new record come together? Was that another Serafino, hey, we need new Hardline kind of thing?
Yeah, so after 2, it just continued to happen, but Serafino was always very understanding of my schedule. And, most bands try to put out an album every year. And I'm not one of those guys where I go, okay, time for me to sit in the studio and I'm going to write songs. That's not creativity, man. You've got to go for a walk in the forest and trip on a log and, get dirt on your face, and you write a song called Dirt on My Face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It has to happen that way.
Yeah.
That's being creative. So Serafino, God bless him, would just say, when you're ready for the next one, let's do another one. I'd say, okay. Let's just play it that way. And so people always ask me, why is there always like 2-3 years in between records? I said, that's because I refuse to sit down and give you something that is just sterile and whatever. That's just not the way I do it. So that's why there's always those gaps. But it has continued, and Serafino is patient with that time gap in between records, and so are the fans. So it works.
So how do you come to land your current lineup? Like you say, you've got a bunch of Italians in the band. Is that kind of Frontiers putting that side of it together, or?
Well, that kind of happened that way, yes. So Serafino saw a very, very talented guy in Alessandro and said, I want you to work with him, flush him out, tell me what he's all about. He's very, very talented. I want you to write with him, work with him. Are you up for it? I said, well, I got to like him. I'm not working with anyone I don't like as a human. I'm way past that stuff. I don't care who you are. You could be the biggest star in the world. If I don't like you and you don't like me, then we're not going to work together. So it started there. It started as a friendship, and turns out he was all of what Serafino said he was. He was a great human, and is a great human. Extremely talented writer, engineer, producer. He masters the records. I mean, he does everything in that studio that normally you would need 9 other guys to do. He's very talented. So I allowed him to, trusting him 1,000,000%, to bring in musicians that fit, for what we were trying to accomplish. And that's what happened. Anna came in. Of course, we had Josh, and then we had Francesco Giovino on drums, and it just, I didn't want to sway from that. I loved the sound, and that's it. This is it. This is perfect. So, again, it's one of those things where you don't want to think too hard. There's a million musicians out there. It just has to work for you, and you have to love all the people you're working with. It's like, going to an office, and there's always that one guy you just, oh, God, I just don't like that guy. That's not what being in a band is about. It's about a unity and a brotherhood, and it has to work that way. First, you have to be friends, and you have to be family before you can feel comfortable to work together. That's the way it is.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. Having played in bands, I mean, I totally get that. It's really tough to kind of hit the creative process with someone who you're just not gelling with.
Right. But I got to ask you a question, Brandon. Did you ever master the G chord? Do you have it now, bro? You got it.
I can play a pretty mean G,
cool.
Bit of solos and whatnot. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I play in a band, and I play guitar and sing. So
cool, man. Oh, all right. So, awesome. Cool.
So very, very much a little bit more of the Judas Priest side of things, but, you know, Hardline and the stuff you do definitely, you know, probably be closer to Axel of anything.
Cool.
But I wish I had that dude's chops, that's for sure.
Yeah. Axel hates his own playing. He'll tell you, he goes, I'm a horrible guitar player. But he's got that Ritchie Blackmore, it doesn't have to be perfect. It, you know, and that essence of sloppiness works. And people get him. And that's what works for him and works for the fans. And so it's all about playing within your capabilities when creating, you know, and it's real. So he doesn't auto-tune things, and we don't. I don't take my voice through special processors and fixed notes and shit that people do today. It's insanity. That's not making music.
No, exactly. It's totally taken the art out of music, and it's now turned into mathematics. And it's
Bro,
like,
thank you for saying that. Yes, that's exactly what it is.
It's funny. A friend of mine, he runs a really successful YouTube channel called Spectre Sound Studios. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Familiar with that.
But it's all about recording, but he also talks about being in bands, you know, here's how to not suck when you do a show, and, you know, when you go into a studio, here's what you need to know, you know, things like that.
That's cool.
And one of my favorite videos he ever did was called The Fans Deserve Better. And he talked about how auto-tune is killing everything. You know, every drum hit, because he's a big live drum guy. He's like, bring in a drummer, play drums. Don't sit, even if you have a live drummer, don't sit there and replace the whole thing with samples. That's boring.
Yeah,
You're just listening to a computer again.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
You know, but one of my favorite things he talked about was on Number of the Beast. You hear that Bruce Dickinson, you know, that just crazy scream at the start of the song.
Yep.
Took him 30 takes to get it right, you know, where Martin Birch is just driving him up the wall. No, that scream wasn't it. Do it again. Do it again. And finally you get the most impassioned scream on a metal album ever, you know?
Awesome.
And it's just like, that's it.
Yeah, man.
You and I seem to be very much on the same page, and him as well, just
Yeah,
pushing that.
man, and
that is music. It's like, let's hear a human being perform.
So people ask me, they say, Johnny, what's your format? How do you record your vocals? I go, what do you mean? I sing into a microphone. I don't put anything on it. You know, the microphone has to capture my sound. It doesn't have to, I don't want it to alter it and add this, that, and the other. Capture me and sing. And then I listen back, and if I don't like what the hell I sang, sing it again. That's it. I just, you know, if something's not pitched right, like, oh, God, it was just a little flat there. I don't like, okay, I'm going to run it through this thing, and it's going to boost it up. And what the hell? I sing it again. That's it. Sing it again. Make it right. I mean, to me, that's art. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to kick anyone's ass that, you know, runs all these tuning things, and because you can still make great music. I still get something out of that, but it's pretty obvious to me when I listen to a song who's been auto-tuned and how drums have been put just right on the beat, and it's just so perfect. It's like, come on. We're not perfect. We're human, and I think that natural movement of even pitch in the voice or a little guitar scratch sound or whatever makes it cool. I mean, that is, you can envision that sliding of the neck on the guitar. Keep that stuff, man. The breath in the voice, that's music.
It's funny. You know, one of my all-time favorite stories. I was at NAMM this year, and Eddie Kramer. I don't know if you heard of him. He produced, I mean, Kiss, freaking The Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin. I mean, you want to talk about, you know, the who's who of rock. He was there to capture all that. And he told this story about doing A Whole Lot of Love from Led Zeppelin. And you know where the song slows and it's just, you know, come on, and you hear the reverse echo before Robert Plant sings. That was a printing mistake on, you know, back in the day. So he said they had this reverse echo thing and they couldn't get it off the track. And the whole bit, they're just like, you know, it was supposed to be silent there, but there's the reverse echo before he sings it. And Eddie said the most brilliant thing ever that I've taken ever since, which is leave the goddamn mistakes in. Yeah, it's, man, you know what? People, even more today, want to know that you are real. And the music is not like that today, bro, unfortunately. I remember working with Doug Aldrich. We mentioned Doug
and we recorded a song called Face Down. And Andy Johns, and I don't know if you know who Andy Johns is.
Yep.
Okay.
Great
so
producer.
Great producer. So Andy Johns produced that song, and he didn't come into the vocal booth and say, Johnny, just sing it heavy and do this like that, and we'll process it, we'll edit it, and don't worry, just give me something, and then I'll work it in the post production, because the shit you can do is amazing. He recited Shakespeare to me. He literally did. And he was a brilliant guy, and he can recite it all. And the reason he did it was to tell me not to worry about post-production. Bring the song out as if it was poetry to yourself. So get inside the song, get inside the lyrics, and sing each word, because each word has meaning. And he's a brilliant guy. And of course, he did have a couple too many drinks that night, but he did spit on me a lot. But I got it. I literally understood what he was doing. And I understand it even more today. It has more value to me today than it did back in the late 80s and early 90s. And that's the essence of music. And that's missing today. Musicians coming up, and even current bands that are on the radio now, or on satellite or whatever they're on, they're more concerned with the sonics of the sound, how sonic I can make, how big I can make the sound, and how perfect it needs to be. And I watched some guys in the studio just draw their vocal lines, like, you just grab this line, if you sing and just draw it up here, now it's a half step higher. I'm like, that's bullshit, man. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. Just, if you can't sing that note, then don't. Sing what you can sing. That's art. So it's like a painter. I mean, you got a blank canvas, you put the color on it, and then you're going to take pictures of it and reproduce it that way? No, man. Here's the original, and this original is worth X. It bothers me that that's the way music is today. It's kind of sad, really. It's kind of sad.
It's funny, too. I think there was a study or something that came out that basically said humans are not meant to listen to auto-tune for exactly that reason. It's too perfect, and again, I mean, it's hard to say because music is art, so what is perfection in that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, sure, the note you're singing fits, mathematically in a scale or whatever.
Right.
But it's like, again, where's the human? We're all humans.
Yeah, and you said it perfectly. You said, it's people are thinking that music is math, and it's not. Music is creativity. It's from within. It's inside you, and just bring it out. And I listen to a lot of artists that I primarily listen to a lot of jazz. I'm a little weird.
I do too.
Okay,
I do too.
And listening to jazz, I mean, some jazz songs are just like, ew, that's just weird. It just doesn't make any musical sense. But what you pull out of it is just that creativity, that, wow, he thought or she thought to do that and in that part of the song. So music is about pulling out what works for you. So I'll listen to anything. I never used to, Brand. I was hardcore rock guy, and I'd listen to my Scorpions, my Van.
Same.
And I didn't have a record collection because I didn't want to be affected or influenced. People say, who's your big influences? I'm like, I don't have any, because I didn't want to be influenced. I wanted whatever was inside of me to come out. I don't know how to play anyone's songs. Like, if you ask me to play a Zeppelin song, I have no clue, man. I could probably figure it out, but I don't know how to play anyone's song, so that when I pick up a guitar, I sit down at drums, or sit down at piano, whatever comes out is me. So I think it's important for musicians and kids learning and coming up to just do what you can do within your own capabilities, because people will find the beauty in the creativity that you can do. They'll embrace it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's you. And that's what you want to sell. You want to sell you. That's it. And if you can't do it perfectly, who cares? There's beauty in everything we do creativity-wise. You know what I mean? So I'm a big, advocate of being real. And the same thing live. I went to some rock shows, man. I couldn't believe that the singers, I'm not going to mention any names, but the singers were running their voice through auto-tune, and what was coming out of the monitor side stage and coming out of the house was completely different, bro. And these are big bands, and I'm like, why? It's weird. Anyway, we could go on and on about that thing, man, but I'm glad to hear that you're old school, real musician. That's cool.
Oh, yeah. No, it's funny. Just going back to the jazz thing for a second, that's one thing that I love is, Detroit here has a jazz station at night, and I'll throw it on for an hour in the background. You sit there and you go, these are musicians actually playing everything.
Yes.
You can hear the drummer going the whole time. You can hear, yes. There's little mistakes in there and little,
Isn't that cool?
The piano. It's listening to people play real music.
Yeah, I mean,
people play music.
They do, and Brandon, Double Eclipse was played live. People don't realize that. Now, I didn't do the vocals live. I did scratch tracks live, but I took that into a more controlled environment because I had to do all the background harmonies. That was all me. Every note on that record vocally was me. But that music, those basic rhythm tracks, that was us in A&M Studios. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, go. That's it. We didn't okay, we're going to run it through this computer and we're going to do that. No, okay, oh, shoot. Hey, Dean, you pushed the chorus a little too fast, man. Can you pull it back a little at that point? Okay, let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. That's it, man. Call me a fool. I don't know. But to me, isn't that the way we're supposed to make music? And a lot of people don't realize, even back in the early Journey days, and I can't speak for today, but that even Neil's solos were live. They played the song and Steve sang and they recorded it, and then if something was god awful, they redid it. But that's it. It was live. We're a band. Let's play as a band.
So, in addition to the new albums, you've got a new one out by Axel, Game of Sins. You got the new Hardline record out. I heard you also have a new solo record coming out.
Yep.
What can you tell me about this? Are you going to have multiple musicians? Are you just going to form a new band to do it? Or what's the game plan for that?
So what's happening with this was all inspired by a young kid here in my hometown of Connecticut who became paralyzed in a diving accident. He dove into our Long Island Sound here, our waterway here, and hit a rock and broke his C3, C4, C5, and it was horrible, and he's rendered paralyzed at the moment. And of course, this is very expensive rehabilitation. And I said, I got to do something. That's how it all started, Brandon, for me. I said, I got to do something short of just cutting a check and saying, here you go, good luck and hope the money helps you. I said, I got to do something more. And so I decided, I've always been a team player. I've always been a band guy. All the albums, I have 30 plus albums out in my career, and they were all with bands, ARP, Hardline, Crush 40, etc. I'm going to step outside the box for a second. I'm going to do a solo album, but I'm going to do it to benefit Joe Barber. There's a number of things that came into play here. I never really thought about doing a solo record. I don't have an ego. I don't know if you sense it, but a lot of these rock guys have these big egos and a big rock star. To me, I'm a working musician. I love to make music, and I love when the fans love it, and that's what drives me today. It's not about the money and the stature and the being in the magazines or whatever. It's about making music and sharing it with people. So I said, I've got to help this kid, and I'm going to do a solo album, but I'm going to have the fans get involved with the making of the CD. So I learned about this platform called Pledge Music. So if the fans go to pledgemusic.com/Johnny Gioeli, you'll learn all about Joe Barber. You'll learn all about the making of this solo record that I'm involving the fans. It's a fans record, and they get to be involved in the making of. Back when I came up in the early 90s, everything was top secret, Brandon. You didn't know where Van Halen was recording. You didn't know where they were rehearsing. You didn't know where they lived. It was top secret stuff. And I think that's a shame, because music should be shared and how it's done should be shared. And that's what I do and am doing with this solo record. We're going to have a release date of mid-spring 2017. And I'm using all different musicians at this point to help me, because I do play a lot of instruments, and I was going to play them all, but I am certainly not the best guitar player out there. I'm not the best drummer. I can get by, and I want to make a great record, so why not use great musicians? But I'm writing it, the solo album, and I'm socially engaging with those who want to participate in the making of the CD. So pledgemusic.com/Johnny Gioeli, and you can pre-buy the solo, which helps with all benefits Joe Barber and his rehabilitation. People don't realize that paralysis over the lifetime of someone trying to rehabilitate cost upwards of $8, $9, $10 million. It's insane. And look, insurance only covers so much. And what are families to do? This is a young kid. He's now 17. Maybe Joe just turned 18, I think. He's got his whole life ahead of him. This equipment's expensive. To get him around special vehicles, expensive. The way he eats, the way he communicates, the way he moves, the way he's put to bed, the way the house has to be structured to accommodate for his paralysis costs big money. So this is my way of giving back and helping him. There's a million charities, as we know, out there. But this was in my backyard, bro. This was right here. This affected me. I know this family. I know this kid. I just went on television, local news with him to raise money. And so it's been an amazing process because I'm not a social network guy. I didn't know how to use it. But all of these fans have come out to help. And I'm telling you, fans around the world, and when I say around the world, I'm talking Iraq, Afghanistan. Right away we think, oh my gosh, we got to drop a bomb on Afghanistan. No, we don't. Because there's beautiful people that love our country, that love our music, that love my music. No, we don't do that. That's not what we do. We love and we embrace and we figure out how we all work together. That's what we do. So I've been overwhelmed, Brandon, with the fan base that I have from Czech Republic, Russia, Portugal, Italy. And these fans don't know this kid. They don't know him. So, and when they buy an exclusive, we call them exclusives, you can get special T-shirts that I have one-of-a-kind memorabilia from my career that I offer through donation for Joe. So I sell it to whoever wants to purchase it. And we have Crush 40 laminate passes and lyrics from Axel Rudi Pell. You'll see they're marked up. When I did a particular song, I mark them up and how I'm going to sing them. And you'll see notes and scratches. And when I'm writing lyrics and things like that, I give. And the supporter pays for those. And then I donate it to Joe Barber for his cause. And we make the CD together. So that's what's going on with the solo project.
It's very, very cool. What an interesting way to go about that, too. To actually have kind of, not just I'm going to do a solo album, but there's something much deeper running underneath it as well.
Absolutely, man. And so in the springtime, I'll present Joe with a big fat check. And I already told his parents, I said, this money's going directly to Joe. And I don't care if Joe fills a limousine with 15 beautiful girls and goes off to New York City. I don't care what he does. This is for him and for his life, and let him enjoy this. And so that's what the fans want. They want this for Joe. But it's touching to me, man. It's overwhelming. Sometimes I get all bubbled up, man, because I can't believe the media just pushes how terrible things are in the world. Oh, it's bad, and this, that, and the fighting and this. And yes, there is a good amount of bad out there, but I will tell you firsthand that everywhere I go in the world, and I've been around it many, many times, people in the world want the same thing that we want. They want great health. They want to be comfortable financially. They want to laugh. They want to love. It's simple, man. And they're there. And it's the majority. It's not what we see on the media. And I know firsthand, man, I get the most amazing messages and emails from fans in Afghanistan. You go, my God, these are young kids that just want love. They want happiness. They want normal. They want a good life. That's it. They don't want anything else. They don't want power. They don't want this. They don't want control. They want love, man. They want to wake up and laugh. That's it. So this forum for me through Pledge Music couldn't be more perfect for me. It's not for everybody, but for me, I've literally extinguished 90% of my memorabilia for this cause to fans. They can have it. I had it. I loved it. my awards and things like that, and I've given them away because it's that important to me.
That's amazing.
Thanks.
So, besides everything else we've talked about, this new solo album and so forth, do you have anything else in the pipeline that we haven't mentioned yet that may be coming out in the next year, perhaps?
Oh man, I'm busier than a one-leg kickboxer. Did you picture that? You picture that one leg just kicking. Oh gosh. So yeah, a few things going on. ARP is releasing a new ballads record. We're going to record that we're in December now, aren't we? Yes. Next month, we record that. So it's going to be a compilation of some previously released ballads with 3 or 4 brand new tracks. And there's a very, very famous singer, female, that I'm going to be doing a duet with. I can't mention her name right now. Sorry. So that's pretty exciting and cool. Old school singer, too, which I love. And so that project's in the works. And then I'm also in January, I'm wrapping up the solo record because it takes about 3 months to prepare artwork and copy and CD preparation and marketing and promotion, and it's as you know, man, because you're in this business, we need several months to do that. So those 2 projects I'm wrapping up, and besides doing some touring in May, Hardline is touring in May. I'll be in Spain, I'll be in Switzerland, I'll be in Greece, I'll be in Portugal, I'll be in Germany. I'm doing big festival shows.
On that note, really quick, are there plans for you guys to play the States at all, or are you guys just going to stay in Europe?
We're working on it, but I got to tell you, my own country here is, I laugh, I go, I don't understand. We don't get a lot of offers as Hardline to play the festival shows. Like, as we know, there's like Rocklahoma, and there's big shows here, but I ask. Like a gentleman, I ask, but we're never quite invited. I don't know why. I'm starting to get a complex. But at this moment, no, we don't have any U.S. shows scheduled. Not that we don't have a good fan base here. We do. But we're popular in Europe and Asia. And so you got to go where your fans are, man. And I know I'm probably pissing a lot of people off. They're like, well, we're a fan. Help play here. But right now, nothing scheduled for U.S. Nothing at all.
It's funny, too. I just talked to Michael Clayton from Taiketo not long ago. Very much the same boat as Hardline. Very much the fan base is overseas. It's Europe and Asia. And it's like, he's like, as much as I would love to play the States, I mean, do I really want to put so much work into touring? And, we could play a 30-date tour, and we'll play, a bar a night playing to 20 people in Detroit, 20 people here. It's like, is it worth it when I can go to Europe and play to 1,000 people a night? Like, it's economies of scale.
Exactly. Yeah. And those guys, I know, Mike, those guys are, they're very, very big in like the UK. So they, you just got to go where what I love about that, going back to what I said earlier, is you've got to stick to being who you are. And, the European community, they continue to embrace that style of music. And as a musician, you have to do what you got to do. You got to go where your audience is. Unfortunately, that's what a lot of us do. We go there. Not that I wouldn't love to play the U.S. Let me just make sure that I'm firm on that.
Yeah, no, of course. No, of course.
Yeah, it's just like, it's just not available. I mean, I do a show once in a while in Chicago. I just did a little. I called it Karaoke Johnny. It was just a fun thing in Chicago, playing some of the the famous tunes, but there's nothing serious on the books right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go, and this has been amazing. I mean, we're at an hour and a half now, which is.
Oh man, bro, sorry. I mean, there's just so much to say, man.
Oh, it's all good.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, absolutely. The older I get, the more I tell. So by next year, I'm going to be like, everyone's going to know my pant size. I mean, everything comes out. But it's been a long career. I've got a lot of fun stories, and there's a lot that we're to that point where the fans want to know what it's really all about, because it's intriguing. It is an amazing business. It's been an amazing career, for myself, and I've enjoyed and respected every bit of it since day one. I used to tell my now wife, I used to say, enjoy this day and let's be grateful, because I really don't know what tomorrow holds. So you have to live it that way, so music's a good thing. It's an interesting beast.
That's so cool. Well, Johnny, I want to thank you so much, first of all, for taking out this great length of time to do this, but just in general, just sitting down, like I said, I'm a fan, so this has been really interesting to hear this chat, and just, this has been great. I really appreciate it.
Hey, man, likewise. Thanks also for taking the time, and it worked out perfectly. I'm sorry for the delay, but this just worked out perfectly because I'm kind of stuck here watching the dog anyway, so it's all a good thing.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's so great.
Thanks for your great questions too, Brandon. I apprate it, and good luck to you, man.
Oh, thanks so much. And looking forward to hearing your new stuff in 2017.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Happy holidays.
Thanks so much. Have a good one.
Take care, man. You too.
Right.
See you, brother.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.